Alright guys, here we are. Gonna finally do the video where I am going to compare the 7mm Rem Mag 162 grain SST Hornady Superformance against my hand loads. Now, according to this box, it should have a muzzle velocity of like 30. And I'm going to check to see how accurate that is also while I'm out here. So I will I got targets set up downrange at about 100 meters. Be right down there. And after I shoot 5 rounds out of the Superformance, we'll go down and see how it did, and then I'll start doing my bullet seating depth workup for the Browning AB3, which is the girlfriend's gun and all that. So I will be back with you here shortly. Alright, so got the first 5 rounds off, shooting the Hornady Superformance 7mm 162 grain SSTs. And the only reason why I'm comparing those factory loads is because that's exactly what I shoot in my reloads. So walking down here, see how we did. As for the velocities, I have an extreme spread of 110, with my low velocity being 3099 and my high being 3209. But we're down here and this is what we've got. There's the group. Let's see if I can get that in there a little better. There we go. And you can see where I wrote, these are the Hornady Superformance 162 SSTs. They claim 30 feet per second. I was actually getting well over that. I've got all my other targets on here. So it'd be seating depth of 0.010, 0.020, 3, 4, and 5 accordingly down there. So, you know, out of a $500 gun that they claim the barrel's sub MOA, shooting a high-end hunting load rather than a match grade ammo, I would actually consider that a very good group. I didn't bring my caliper with me, but once I'm done shooting today and I get home, I will get them measured up and we'll get some final results at that time. But right now I'm walking back down to my shooting bench, and I will go through the same process for each of my bullet seating depths for my hand loads. So I will get back to you here in a little bit. Alright, so I would be shooting more of a solid video instead of doing little clips that I'm gonna have to piece together, but girlfriend wants to shoot and that's fine. She can shoot while I'm shooting, and when I'm walking down range like I'm doing right now, she can be reloading magazines or picking up brass and stuff, so that way we can, you know, keep reloading without having to buy any more cases, at least not for a little while. But I just got done shooting the bullet seating depth of 10 1/1000ths, and her gun doesn't exactly like that, because that is the group I've got. So we're gonna move on to the 20 thousandths on the bullet seating depth, which all of my hand loads get measured off the bullet ogive, so that way I get a consistent seating depth as opposed to measuring from the tip. I've actually found by measuring from the tip that I could be several thousandths off. I mean, from one bullet to the next. It could be as little as 1/1000th of an inch, or it could be, you know, I've had them as much as 5 or 6 thousandths of an inch difference. And if you're measuring off the tip, it doesn't give you a true bullet seating depth anyways, because if you use an overall length gauge like I do, the bullet contacts the lands at the ogive. So that's why I measured from there. All right, I'm back. I'll get back to you in a bit. All right, heading down here to check out the bullet seating depth of 20 thousandths. And I have at least one flyer for sure. I know that would have been my fault. I actually felt like I actually jerked the trigger instead of squeezing off around. I don't know if it was just because I was comfortable, but then I didn't feel as rock steady as I normally do. So I think I actually just kind of rushed the shot, so it went low and right. But it also had the lowest velocity. So we'll go over all that when like I said, when I check it, you know, measure everything up at home. But this is what we got. So this was the one that I felt like I actually jerked or pulled, and then these are my other 4. So that is, you know, like I said, 20 thousandths on the bullet seating depth, which there it is right there. And that group is so much better than that first one with the Superformance. Now the Superformance had 3 of them that were, you know, right here, that were pretty similar, but then you had these other couple off to the bottom there. So I still got a little ways to go, and I think the last year when I worked on her bullet seating depth and I wasn't happy with it, I came up with 30 thousandths of an inch for bullet seating depth on her rifle, and it shot 0.6, like 10 on the money. But I did it on a weekend where I'd put about 200 rounds through her gun, breaking in the barrel and getting it up to copper equilibrium, and then figuring out the optimum charge weight for the amount of powder I'd want to use, along with also shooting my rifle. So I was a little sore, and that may have played a factor, and that's why I'm redoing it this year. So we'll see what happens. I'll be back with you. Alright, so not real thrilled with that round of 5. The sun finally crested over the trees, and the temperature's climbing quick. We're supposed to get in the mid 90s, and when I started out this morning and I got down here, it was like 70, it's like 73 or 74 degrees out, and we're already up to 80 in just a short period of time. Ammo temp was started the day out at 63, and it's climbed up into the mid 70s during this last group, and I actually feel like I was all over the place. As a matter of fact, I've got 2 major flyers that one's low left and the other one's high right. One's low left was my last shot. It was the highest velocity, which I was shooting in the 2850 range, and now with the temperature increase by basically 10 degrees, I'm shooting in more like the 2950 to 2970 range on the exact same powder charge. And you can actually see the difference here in a second when I show you. So that was my last shot. This was my 3rd shot, and these were my first, second, and 4th. Like I said, I wasn't happy with everything, because I could personally tell temperature climbed in a hurry, and we are, it's, I don't know, roughly probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're climbing into the loaded mid 80s already. And like I said, we're supposed to get up to like 94, 95, 96, somewhere in there. And we'll hit that temperature probably by like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe a little after that. But I've got no wind. If I turn around and stop, the wind just now started picking up, and you can actually see the grass and stuff moving a little bit. So we got, maximum 5-mile-an-hour wind. So that grouping, all shooting error, but right now I'm actually pretty impressed with the 20,000s myself, but we'll see what happens. Alright, I'm back. Just got done shooting the bullet seeing depth of 40 thousandths of an inch, and been having a little fun with my chronograph. I got it set out at about 10 feet, and the muzzle blast, or just the bullet traveling through, is causing a little bit of causing the sunshades to slide up a little bit, and then they pop off after every couple of rounds, so I'm having to come off the gun more often. Plus I'm coming off the gun anyways to write down my velocities, because I'm letting the girlfriend do her thing and I'm doing mine, rather than having her help me out. So I ended up with, this could all be shooting error. It's very linear, but this is what I ended up with right there. So I got 5 shots almost in a perfect line horizontally. So this was the most consistent velocities I've had of any of my 5-shot groups up to this point. It had an extreme spread of 20, which one of them was 2909, and then the other 4 were 2929, 2929, and 2925, and 2922 or 21. Or I take that back, one was 2918. So with the exception of the one, my powder charges are, they're giving me really good extreme spreads. Not sure what the standard deviation is yet. I got all that figured out on my laptop at home, so when I get home I'll plug all this information in and be able to get more information in regards to what I'm dealing with. So I'll shoot the final 5. Alright, so I just shot the last 5. I had one cartridge that I literally had to muscle the bolt closed, but I don't understand why. I checked all my head spaces and everything. I made sure I used cases that had the exact same head spacing and in a head spacing range that I was looking for. But for whatever reason, I had one that I couldn't get to chamber, so I saved it for last out of these, in this last 5-shot group. And then I took and managed to get the bolt closed. Like I said, I had to muscle it shut, and it had a similar velocity to all the others. It was, I think, 2914 or something like that. But her gun definitely does not like that last one, which is this one over here. So I got 2 here, and then 3, 4, and 5. It's not, it's still not bad. It could probably be worked with a little bit, but considering I haven't been out shooting at all this year, a lot of this could be my fault. Right now, I've got definitely 20 thousandths is probably what I'm going to go with, because that's a 4-shot group with one flyer that I know for a fact that I pulled. So with me pulling the one, I'm definitely going to turn around and be going with the 20 thousandths on hers, which, like I said, last year I wasn't, impressed with the outcomes that I ended up with. But when I get home, I'll have to get all these measured up, and I'll compare them to the Hornady Superformance, which obviously, the one I'm going to compare is going to be the 20 thousandths, because I was doing a bullet seating depth workup on a $500 Hornady or Browning AB3 in 7mm Rem Mag. It's got a 26-inch barrel. It's been the chain or the rifling on it's all button barrel cut, and just like the Browning X bolt. So definitely the route I'm going to go with taking a a rifle that has, you know, they claim sub MOA with, you know, match grade ammo, and it probably is right at sub MOA, but you can get much more than that out of any rifle if you are a reloader and put forth the effort to do proper things to keep your ammo as consistent as possible. You want complete uniformity with doing powder charge workup or an optimum charge weight, which that's pretty easy to do. I will actually do a video on how to do that for some of you that are new to reloading or have never thought about figuring out your barrel harmonics of your rifle. And then, you know, case uniformity, making sure obviously you have the same powder charge, which that's what your bullet workup, you know, your powder charge workup would be for. And then figuring out bullet seating depth. Once you get to where you go through and, you know, make sure all your cases are trimmed to the same length, and you have primer pocket uniformity to where they're all at the same primer seating depth, and then you make sure your head spaces are the same so you have the same case capacity, along with you know, your bullet seating depth being dead on. And once you get all that stuff figured out, you can take some of these entry-level rifles and get, you know, half-inch groupings at 100, which is outstanding. But we will go over the data when I get home, and I got a few more things I want to do while I'm down here, so we'll catch you later. Alright, so I've made it home and the verdict is in. So here are the sheets. The Hornady Superformance 162 grain SST shot a 1.752 inch group at 100 meters. How I got that was I measured from that line to line basically. So outer edge to outer edge of the two furthest holes, came up to 2.036. I subtracted the bullet diameter, which is 0.284, and got 1.752. This was the seating depth of 10 thousandths, and it ended up being 2.298. I eliminated the one flyer that I knew I had, this one here, and did a 4-shot group and ended up with a 0.559 on the 20 thousandths. This one here, because I knew I pulled this one and had a flyer up here, I just measured the 3. So I measured from here to here. And this one measured out to be 1.234. This one, obviously I measured from outer edge to outer edge, and I came up with 3.480. And the last group ended up being 3.671, measured from outer edge to outer edge. Now you'll notice on some of these, like this one specifically, how nice and tight the holes are. Earlier in the video you saw where they were already like that. I didn't worry about making the holes when I measured these up down to the actual bullet diameter size. So some of these groups could be actually smaller than what they actually are. But I plugged all my information into my laptop, and I even included the Hornady Superformance in here, and looking across you can see where I don't have a couple of velocities in there. This one here, and that one there, because my chronograph gave me an error reading on those. But if we look at group sizes, my best group, which happens to be the proper bullet seating depth that I should be loading for the Browning AB3 that I was using, is 20 thousandths of an inch, and I had a standard deviation of 12.8 and a max spread of 36 with an average velocity of 2852. The Hornady Superformance factory ammo had a standard deviation of 43 and a max spread of 110. It shot a pretty decent group, considering that it is a factory hunting load. But you can honestly see that my hand loads are far and above so much better in both the 20 thousandths and also the 30 thousandth, based on what that rifle likes. So for those of you who like to go out and buy factory loads, you can go ahead and keep doing that. And that box of Hornady Superformance that I bought, it cost me $45 at Cabela's. So my my hand loads in, let's see here, so if I go and look at 7mm Rem Mag in SST, so that one right there, even if I buy the cases and have to, because I buy previously fired brass, I won't buy new. Cost me 91 cents. But this price here, this $1.85, is not based on its equivalent. Well, it might be. I'd have to scroll up and look. But either way, you get 20. So you figure 20 rounds at $1.85 it's still going to be $37, and I paid, I think it was about 43. So you can see that I'm reloading for half the cost, and if I already have the cases, it cost me 52 cents to gain an 1.25 inches in my group sizing. So I just did this video as proof to reloading is going to give you better quality ammo for less money, and you don't have to buy a progressive press to do it. You can do it with a single stage and get the same, you know, effects as using a more expensive press. So when it's all said and done, this is why everybody should be reloading, because you have your initial cost starting out of, in my case, the Hornady lock and load auto progressive press. I have the Hornady concentricity tool. I have the cam lock trimmer. I also have the headspace gauges that I just have the bodies for those because I have I think it's behind here. I have the bullet comparator tool for being able to measure off the ogive of the bullet, and I also have a lock and load overall length gauge. And yes, I do use the curved for getting my overall length on any of my bolt action rifles. You can buy the straight one if you want. I have the curved one because I also have semi-automatics that this is the only way you can do it, and I went ahead and tried it on the bolt action and found out, oh, I can use it and don't need to buy the straight. So I have on my list of things to buy, the one thing I'm missing is the neck turn tool, and I will be purchasing that in the near future, so then that way I can take and complete my set for getting the most precise ammo that I can possibly load. And yes, my area is all a mess and all that, but I've been working on getting some cases trimmed and ready to be cleaned, and then I need to run those through a swage tool, because those are all my those are some of my 223s. And then I was loading some 9mm hand, you know, and so I mean everything's just kind of in disarray right now. It was pretty well cleaned up, but I was getting ready to be able to go out shooting this weekend and also working. So there you guys have it. Hopefully this video helps you out on deciding whether or not you want to start reloading for yourself. And if you do, great. You know, personally, I started doing it, well, at least a decade ago. And at that time, it didn't take me long to be able to pay for my press, basically, and what I saved. So it might take some people a little longer, but definitely look into at least getting into a single stage press. And we'll talk to you guys later.